Gemara Chatima Tova. Shabbat Shalom.
Shabbat Shalom.
Welcome to our Yom Kippur morning service. A few things to mention before we begin our service regarding the safety features of your local Temple Israel sanctuary. As always, we live in a time where we like to be aware, though we think everyone will be safe and sound. Nonetheless, it is very important for us to make note of a few things. First of all, please feel free to make note of your nearest exit. It may be behind you, it may be next to you, it may be in front of you. It's indicated by the large red sign saying exits. Fire extinguishers are located in the back of the sanctuary in the mezzanine. The defibrillator is located in the Temple Israel main office. In the case of severe weather, which we are not anticipating, but being that it is Omaha, you never know, the shelter spots are located downstairs and in the main hallway. First aid kits are located in the AV room, the main office, and in the kitchen. As always, if you see something, say something. In the case of emergency, feel free to call 911, but in the meantime, we do ask that you make sure your cell phones are turned to silent so as not to interrupt the sanctity of our worship service. And in the case of depressurization, masks will drop from the ceilings. Remember to put them on yourselves first and then your loved ones. And if that does happen, we've got much bigger problems. So we will begin with our opening melody of Ma Tovu, which you can find on page 138. It is our pleasure to welcome Dan Gilbert, one of our past presidents, to greet you on behalf of the Board of Trustees.
Good morning. L'Shana Tova and Shabbat Shalom. It's a privilege to welcome you all here, and I hope that today's service brings us all peace, clarity, and a sense of connection as we journey together. Shabbat Shalom.
Shabbat Shalom. Thank you, Dan. So the Talmud teaches that there are two truly happy days in our tradition. And the happiest days are Tu B'Av, which is a late summer observance where the young ladies and the young men and the young men and the young ladies and everyone in between would go out and find love. I know it sounds similar to another holiday, but it's completely different. And then the other day they describe as one of the happiest days of the year, strangely enough, is Yom Kippur. And it's curious because we think of this as a day of fasting and a day of deep introspection, sometimes beating ourselves up and wailing and bemoaning. But the truth is that's not the purpose of Yom Kippur. The purpose of Yom Kippur is to tap into that sense of inner holiness within ourselves, to reconnect with our families, our friends, our loved ones, with our community. It is an opportunity to reconnect with whatever our understanding of the divine is. It truly is a day for rejoicing. It is an opportunity to lift up our souls and find ourselves striving, connecting to become the people we wish to be. And as we keep noting throughout this season, this is a world we're living in with tremendous challenges, tremendous pain being suffered throughout the world and especially throughout our beloved Jewish community. And it is hard to lift up our souls when we are hurting. We get that. And we are not telling you that you have to come out of that and feel better. What we are telling you and encouraging you is to tap into however you are feeling, whatever you are going through. This is an opportunity afforded to us, for we are surrounded by loved ones and friends. We're surrounded by strangers and people we've not yet met. We're surrounded by people we've known our whole lives or their whole lives. We're surrounded by community. And no matter where we are in our journeys, this is a chance to be able to connect and to reconnect with each other, with ourselves, with our loved ones, and with our God. And with that in mind, we'll continue on page 141. We will read responsively. I bless the night that nourished my heart to set the ghosts of longing free into the flow and figure of dream that went to harvest from the dark, bread for the hunger no one sees.
All that is eternal in me welcomes the wonder of this day, the field of brightness it creates, offering time for each thing to rise and illuminate.
I place on the altar of dawn the quiet loyalty of breath, the tent of thought where I shelter, waves of desire I am sure to, and all beauty drawn to the eye.
May my mind come alive today to the invisible geography that invites me to new frontiers, to break the dead shell of yesterdays, to risk being disturbed and changed.
May I have the courage today to live the life that I would love, to postpone my dream no longer, but do at last what I came here for, and waste my heart on fear no more. Our service continues now with the Shema on page 186, and if it is your custom, we invite you to rise in body and or in spirit at this time.
Shema. Be seated, page 195. We read responsively. And they shall know that I, Adonai, am their God, who brought them out of the land of Egypt, that I might abide among them. I, Adonai, their God.
You took us out of the darkness so that your light might dwell among us.
You showed us your power to bring down the powerful, uplift the enslaved, transform the social order.
You showed us your strength so that we might remember our own.
We carry the Exodus vision wherever we go, lest we forget our sense of liberation, lest we lose the joy of breathing free, lest we grow indifferent and blind to others' pain.
So long as we work to make you present, we walk the path of freedom. But if we forget to bring you into this world, then we return to the darkness.
We turn to page 198 and rise if we are comfortable doing so. We'll continue with the Amidah on the even pages through page 204.
חיי הכל ברחמים, ונאמן אתה לחיות הכל. ברוך אתה אדוני מחיי הכל.
You may be seated. There are many different theological expressions within our Machzor. One of the most profound ones is Unatana Tokef, which is something that I've always struggled with. So I'm going to provide an introduction to it for those who may be looking for new pathways, new inroads into its sacred words. However, if it does speak to you in its traditional understanding, by all means, feel free to ignore me. On Rosh Hashanah, it is written, on Yom Kippur it is sealed, that this year people will live and die, some more gently than others, and nothing lives forever. But amidst overwhelming forces of nature and humankind, we still write our own book of life. And our actions are the words in it, and the stages of our lives are the chapters, and nothing goes unrecorded ever. Every deed counts. Everything you do matters. And we never know what act or word will leave an impression or tip the scale. So if not now, then when? For the things that we can change, there is teshuvah, realignment. For the things we cannot change, there is tefillah, prayer. For the help we can give, there is tzedakah, justice. Together, let us write a beautiful book of life for the Holy One to read. We continue on page 208 with Unatana Tokef.
ונתנה תוקף קדושת היום. כי הוא נורא ואיום, ובו אתנסה. מה
page 213. We read together. The power of this day. An empty page, an open book, a day of ultimate questions. Will I still be here next year at this time with the ones I love beside me? What is in store for my family? And what will become of my friends? Who will have reason to celebrate? Who will contend with grief? New love, new babies, marriages deepening or breaking apart, prosperity, struggle, reversals of fortune, illness, and health await us. Who will be missing when we gather next? Who will stand apart? Who will be estranged? And who will have joined us, enriching our community? On the edge of the unknown we tremble. What lies ahead for us all? An empty page, an open book. Nothing is written and nothing is sealed. Flesh and blood, frail creatures, our lives are fleeting and subject to change. Yet this we possess, the strength to persist, to prevail, to comfort one another in the dark. Prayer, right action, a turning toward the good. These give us hope and help us bear the pain of life. We continue with silent prayer, after which we will join together for our prayer of peace on page 246.
ברכה ושלום ופרנסה טובה. ניזכר וניכתב לפניך.
Shabbat Shalom, everyone.
Shabbat
Shana
Shalom.
Tova. When I was in rabbinical school, I had a fear of public speaking. Now, lots of people have some trepidation and light nerves before they speak in front of a group. This was not that. This was a body shaking, short of breath, need to take a minute before I proceed type of phobia that had the potential to be more than slightly inconvenient given my chosen career path. But I was lucky. I had patient teachers and supportive classmates, people who cared enough about me and my need to one day be able to stand on a bima and teach some Torah, who gave me the tools and the resources and really the confidence that I needed to stand in front of a microphone without breaking a sweat. You can ask me later about we'll call them interesting exercises that my teacher gave me to break me of the phobia, but suffice it to say it worked, so I don't question to them, because look at me now, I'm loving the microphone. And by and large, I have learned to love public speaking. It's how I get to teach my Torah. It's how I invite you to grapple with new ideas with me. It's how I lead prayer and wrestle with the sacred texts of our people. It's how I bless our children and remember the people that we love. It's how I stand up for what I believe in. Public speaking is second nature to me at this point, most of the time. Earlier this week, I came to a microphone with anxiety for the first time in a long while. I noticed that some of my telltale signs were back. My breathing was a little bit uneven. My hands started to shake ever so slightly. I noticed that I was warm, even though there was a cool breeze outside. And it wasn't because I wasn't prepared. I was. And it wasn't because I didn't believe what I was saying. I did. It was because I didn't feel comfortable in my own skin. I felt anxious and nervous for reasons that really had nothing to do with the act of speaking itself and everything to do with the emotional weight that I was carrying with me that day. On that day, I had gathered with other clergy members to speak at a press conference to help spread the message about a critical initiative on this year's ballot, an initiative that would put essential life-saving medical care back into the hands of people who need it and their doctors, an initiative that speaks to our Jewish values, upholds religious liberty, and champions reproductive freedom in one fell swoop. This was a message that I've shared countless times from countless different microphones. It was a message that I believe in with every fiber of my being. The message wasn't the reason for my anxiety. And it was a message that has and continues to be shared by this particular group of clergy that I stood with on that day, people whose wisdom I value and who I've come to care about not only as colleagues but as friends with similar passions and shared values. Sharing that message with these people That was not the reason for my anxiety either. To pull from the words of the very great sage of our time, Taylor Swift, it's me. Hi, I'm the problem. It's me. It was me. I was the reason. Because the day of that press conference wasn't just any day, it was October 7th. And for me, October 7th was not just another day. I shared with you last week that this past year has been for me one of immeasurable grief as I try to wrap my arms around my own broken heart and the broken heart of the world. So I didn't come to that press conference carrying only the weight of the fight for women and pregnant people, a fight that I believe is fundamental to my interpretation of Judaism. I was also carrying with me heartache and a need, yet unrealized even by me at this point, to be seen and heard as a Jew in pain on that day. I arrived at the church and I greeted my colleagues, and in each conversation we exchanged pleasantries and small talk. They asked me how I was doing, as you do with a friend that you haven't seen in a while. Today is a hard day, I would say. Today is a painful day. Today is a day of heartache. And my colleagues, people who I've stood alongside fighting for our shared values with, people who know me and who have spent countless hours dreaming with me and fighting for justice, they carefully looked away. They remarked about how busy this time of year must be for me, and they thanked me for making time to be there between our holy days. There was one exception, a pastor who quietly said, "I'm sorry today is hard. Can I give you a hug?" And she held me with kindness and with compassion, and she saw me in my fullness as a faith leader who cared about what we were there to speak about and as a Jew who was in pain. We didn't need to discuss the whys. We didn't need to debate about right and wrong. We didn't need to talk about the unspeakable acts of violence that happened that day or in every day since that year started. She knew that whether or not we agreed or disagreed, that I was the same person that she had stood shoulder to shoulder with over these past weeks and months, and yes, at this point, years, fighting for the kind of world that we both believe our faiths believe in. But she was one person, and I found myself so flustered and so caught off guard by the careful avoidance of this potentially fraught topic that my anxiety spiked, and I was nervous. I was nervous that I wouldn't be able to say the right thing or ask the right question to begin the conversation. Nervous that I wouldn't be able to adequately articulate what being a Jew during this year and on this day means. Nervous that I would say something that would somehow erase all of the ways that I had proven myself to be a trusted colleague, and that I would find myself unwelcome in a space that has become an important and vital part of my rabbinate. And I failed at the very thing that I have asked you to do, the thing that I have been teaching and preaching for more than a year now, to have the hard conversation, to not make yourself or your beliefs smaller for the sake of someone else's comfort, to be vulnerable and to be honest about who you are and what you believe, to acknowledge when you don't have all the answers, to be open and curious to hearing something that makes you uncomfortable, and most importantly, to live boldly and proudly and passionately as a Jew. I did not do that this week. I wish that I had. I wonder if you've had these moments too. Moments when you diminished yourself or you didn't speak your truth. Moments when you chose not to wear your Judaism openly, proudly. Moments when you didn't speak up for fear of not being welcome. Moments when you could have had the hard conversation, but you didn't. So on this morning, on our holiest day of the year, let's make a start. We won't find all the answers. There isn't a sermon long enough in the world for that, and I promise you mine won't try to be. But let's really think about why we're not having those hard conversations. What's stopping us, and how do we get past it? Because we owe it to ourselves and each other to at least try. I imagine that a big part of our hesitation has to do with the very real threat of anti-Semitism in our country. Even as we sit here praying together this morning, we do so under the protection of guards and increased security protocols because we are living through an era of rising anti-Semitism, the likes of which most of us have not experienced or can even remember in our lifetimes. We knew that anti-Semitism was on the rise when white supremacists marched in Charlottesville chanting, "Jews will not replace us," in 2017. And when an anti-Semitic gunman killed 11 Jews as they prayed on a Shabbat morning in the Tree of Life Synagogue in Pittsburgh in 2018. But in this past year, we've moved from a passive awareness and a growing concern to real and rising fear. We woke up to reports of swastikas painted and carved into desks and lockers in schools. We read about subways and streets and campus quads and city council and board meetings at schools becoming sites of anti-Jewish rhetoric and rallying cries across the country. We saw congressional hearings taking university administrators to task for failing to protect Jewish students on their campuses. We heard of heartbreaking incidents of anti-Semitism in high school from our very own Temple Israel teens. And if the anecdotal evidence isn't enough, the numbers don't lie. The Anti-Defamation League reported that the incidents tracked in 2023 represent the highest number on record since the ADL began collecting that data in 1979. Dr. Deborah Lipstadt, a professor, a historian, and the United States Special Envoy to monitor and combat anti-Semitism, has taught for many years that anti-Semitism is not confined to the fringes of society. It's not a relic of the past, but a present-day reality that manifests itself in insidious ways, permeating all corners of our world. Anti-Semitism rears its ugly head across the political spectrum. It can be found among far-right extremists who peddle old-age tropes of Jewish conspiracies and racial superiorities, to far-left activists, some of whom rely on anti-Semitism to spread their political views or cloak their anti-Semitism in political arguments. And it's true. Anti-Semitism is not tethered to a specific time or place or political ideology. And while historically we've often seen and felt it from far-right wings white supremacists, in the past year the political left has had to face a reckoning of its own in the wake of increasing hostilities and anti-Jewish sentiment. For some time now, we've heard from writers and scholars and politicians who warn of the liberal ideology that has the potential to be harmful to Jews. Folks like David Bernstein, the author of Woke Anti-Semitism, How a Progressive Ideology Harms Jews, who speaks with incandescent fervor about how liberal ideological tenets like diversity, equity, and inclusion initiatives, the exploration of intersectionality, and a recognition of privilege can be dangerous to the Jews. Bret Stephens recently doubled down on that train of thought, saying that after October 7th, an awakening of sorts occurred, calling this phenomenon the October 8th Jews, those who woke up a day after our greatest tragedy since the Holocaust to see how little empathy there was for us in many of the spaces and communities and institutions that we thought we comfortably inhabited. He goes on to talk about how little reciprocity there is for Jews who have historically showed up for others in their moments of pain and struggle. This rhetoric, combined with the very real moments in the past year when Jewish people found themselves unwelcome or unsafe in spaces and in coalitions that we helped to build and nurture, has caused some Jews to question whether we really belong there anymore. And those questions are reasonable, given where we are today. But I want to first say clearly and unequivocally, we do belong there. The notion that liberal and progressive ideology is somehow dangerous to Jews, I believe, feeds a harmful narrative where we risk divorcing ourselves from the Jewish values that we hold dear. Values that include a commitment to full and equal inclusion of all people. Values that include respect for human dignity and bodily autonomy. Values that include the scrutiny of our own biases. These are inherent expressions of our Jewish faith. And the idea that our pledge to show up for others is somehow contingent upon whether they will one day show up for us is actually an insult to our commitment to the causes that we claim are demonstrations of our Jewish values. So the answer is yes. In ideological terms, yes, we belong there. These ideas, they're not dangerous to us. And yet, when more than our ideology is threatened, we do have to consider how and when and in what ways we inhabit those spaces. What do we do when we have made commitments to partnerships and coalitions but find ourselves faced with anti-Jewish rhetoric? There is no easy answer as we confront the enormity of this question, and if there was, I probably wouldn't feel compelled to give a sermon about it today. But truthfully, I've wrestled with it mightily over the past few months. So today I want to share with you some of what has guided my thinking as I've searched for answers during the past year. The first consideration, of course, is physical safety. We cannot and should not be in any space if our bodily safety isn't assured. Nothing is worth putting ourselves in harm's way, and if you find yourself in such a situation, I beg of you, leave. But what do we do when it's somehow less clear? What happens if there are voices in our meetings, our partners in our coalitions that are anti-Semitic? What do we do then? And here's where it gets hard. We have a choice to make, and both options are valid. One choice is to leave. We can choose not to be a part of spaces that don't disavow anti-Semitic voices. And that option is reasonable, because staying could potentially subject us to verbal abuse or emotional harm. But there is another option, and that option is not to leave, to intentionally choose not to cede the space and instead claim it as equal partners and voices in the issues that we care about and that represent what we believe Judaism to be. During my first months as a rabbi, fresh out of rabbinical school in 2014, I found myself on the streets of Ferguson, Missouri, taking part in a nascent anti-racism movement that would soon serve as the springboard for a racial reckoning in this country. And even in those early days, coalitions soon became fraught with anti-Semitism. One day, as we drove to a march, my rabbi and mentor, Rabbi Susan Talvi, shared her philosophy with me, one that continues to guide me today. If our Judaism demands that we show up, then we show up. We do not allow the voices of others to dictate where and how we practice our Judaism. And that voice is the one that I hear now more than ever. If I allow other people to claim the space from me, then I give them the power to define my Jewish practice. But the thing is, nobody gets to define my Judaism but me. And nobody gets to define your Judaism but you. And my Judaism is an inclusive, feminist, progressive, multiracial, multivocal, egalitarian, LGBTQ affirming, justice-oriented liberal Judaism. And I can't cede those spaces. I have to continue to claim them because they are how I practice my Judaism. And if I and we are going to continue to be in those spaces, then we have to be willing to have the hard conversation, the ones that are sometimes easier to let us pass by precisely because they are uncomfortable. When we find ourselves unwelcome, or when we start to notice that people are carefully avoiding the conversations that really need to be had, the ones that have the potential to move the needle on anti-Semitism and help people understand what it means to be Jewish in the world today, then we need to be courageous enough and audacious enough to say the hard things. But we know how to do that. We've been there before. Every year during the month of Adar, we tell this story to our children. We shake our groggers. We boo at the evil Haman who decides that all Jews are going to die on the 14th of Adar. And we cheer for Mordecai, who begs Esther, the queen who was seemingly chosen at random at the whim of a capricious king, to speak her truth and to tell the king that she too is Jewish. He pleads with her to use her power and her position to save the Jews of her kingdom. And who knows, Mordecai says, maybe you have come into your position for such a time as this. And with those words, Mordecai might well be speaking to us now. This is your moment, Mordecai says. The time for the hard conversation is right now. This is the time when you have the potential to move the needle on anti-Semitism, to speak your truth and define your Judaism. But here's the important thing. Mordecai doesn't tell Esther to go confront Haman, because she isn't going to change Haman. He tells her to talk to Achashverosh, because that is the risk that's worth taking. That is where she has the possibility to affect real change. Dara Horn, who's known for her book, People Love Dead Jews, says that we are in a moment of Purim anti-Semitism. There are Hamans out there in the world right now, people who want to kill all the Jews. But most people are not Haman. Most people are Achashverosh, and they don't believe that. But they may not actually know anything about Judaism or what it means to be Jewish. And that means that we need to step up to the plate, because it's our turn at bat. This is our Queen Esther moment. But hard conversations are, well, they're hard. David Brooks wrote a book this past year called How to Know a Person. He says that one of the reasons hard conversations are necessary is that we have to ask other people the obvious question. How do you see this? If we're going to have any hope of entering even a little bit into their point of view. Our differences of perceptions are rooted deeply in the hidden kingdom of the unconscious mind, and we're generally not aware of how profound those differences are until we ask. There is no way to make a hard conversation unhard. You can never fully understand a person whose life experience is very different from your own. Nevertheless, if you work on your skills, your capacity to see and hear others, you really can get a sense of another person's perspective. And I have found that it is quite possible to turn distrust into trust and to build mutual respect. This week I could have had the hard conversation, but I didn't. When my colleagues carefully looked away and avoided talking about the things that we really need to talk about, I let them. Because it was easier to do that than to be vulnerable and to be honest about who I am and what I believe. Instead, I let my fear of what having the hard conversation could mean win out. And that meant that I did not share my full and authentic self with my colleagues and the people that I consider to be my friends. And that isn't fair to me, but it also isn't fair to them. In that moment, we all chose the easy way out. But what if we hadn't? Yes, we avoided making each other uncomfortable. We avoided potentially having a heated exchange. But we also cheated ourselves out of the chance to forge a deeper bond and strengthen our relationships by being willing to take the risk of revealing more about who we are. I didn't take that Queen Esther moment, but I hope that the next time I will. And I hope you will too. Because we each get to define our own Judaism. In this new year, may we choose not to make ourselves smaller and our beliefs smaller for the sake of someone else's comfort. May we all be vulnerable and honest about who we are and what we believe. May we all acknowledge when we don't have the answers. May we be open and curious to hearing things that make us uncomfortable. May we live boldly and proudly and passionately as Jews. May we be the Queen Esthers of the world, the one who step into our power and make it count. Because who knows, maybe we are here for such a time as this. Gemar Chatima Tova.
Sometimes the world is very hard, and sometimes we need to sing again. After every losing battle, every desperate place we've been, past every breaking point of disaster. Once we're sure we've reached the end, we lift each other off of the ground and say, someday I know we'll sing again. Come on, we'd sing again. Sing again. Oh, we all rise and sing again. Sing again. Sing again. Oh, we all rise and sing again. Never been, never is, never gonna be easy. No, no. So we need the voices high and low. Though we're living through a nightmare, we're doing everything we can. Yeah, standing here together to face the fear. Can you hear us sing again? Come on, people, this is when we sing again. Sing again. Oh, we all rise and sing again. Sing again. Sing again. Oh, we all rise and sing again. Oh, we all rise and sing again. Oh, we all rise and sing again.
Friends, we continue now this morning with Seder Kriyat Torah, which you can find starting with Avinu Malkeinu on page 252. We invite all those who so choose to rise in body and or in spirit as the ark is opened.
Avinu Malkeinu, Shema Kolenu. Avinu Malkeinu, Chatanu lefanecha.
Page 254. We read together, "Let the reading of Torah be like prayer, a meditation to remind us what we strive for, a chant that binds us to the chain of generations. Let the reading of Torah be like prayer, a moment of purest solidarity with our people's hopes and history, an invitation to affirm or dissent, to challenge or believe, to ask why or say amen. Let the reading of Torah be like prayer, flowing like waters that renew the spirit, refreshing and sweet to nourish the soul. Let the reading of Torah be like prayer, every word a blessing, every verse a conversation with God." Page 256, Adonai, Adonai.
Adonai, Adonai, God compassionate, gracious, endlessly patient, loving, and true, showing mercy to the thousandth generation, forgiving evil, defiance, and wrongdoing, granting pardon.
This morning, we are going to be chanting from Parshat Nitzavim, which you can find beginning on page 267. And the blessings before and after the Torah portions can be found on page 258. Nitzavim, atem nitzavim hayom kolchem lifnei Adonai Elohechem. You stand this day, all of you, in the presence of Adonai, your God. As the portion goes on to explain, it lists everyone within the community, regardless of profession, regardless of gender, regardless of stature, regardless of age. We all stand there this day. And I'm a big believer in Newton's law of conservation of midrashim, which is there are only so many midrashim, only so many stories. And Nitzavim reminds me of one of my favorite ones to tell. I apologize to those who have heard it before. For there were two people walking along the street, and they ran into each other. And one said to the next, "You look very familiar." And the other said to the first, "So do you. Where have we met before?" Now, both of these people, I should mention, were Jewish, and they began to play Jewish geography. They talked about their synagogues. They went to different synagogues. They talked about the buildings where they lived. They lived in different buildings. They talked about the neighborhoods they grew up in. They grew up in different neighborhoods. They went to different camps. They went to different colleges. They had different professions. Their lives, believe it or not, never intersected in any way at all. And finally, the first one said to the second, "I realize where I recognize you." And the second said, "Where?" And the first said, "We stood at Sinai together." I mention that story because we're all interconnected. Atem nitzavim hayom. We all stand this day together. There's a beauty and poignancy to Yom Kippur, When we list all of the ways we've gone wrong, we don't do it in the singular. We do it in the plural. Because most of us are not really capable of committing all of these things that we shouldn't do. And if you are, you know who you are, and we won't name any names. But what we do know is each of us have failings and foibles in our own ways. Each of us is imperfect. Each of us is striving to be better. And in order to do this, we stand at Timnitzavim Hayom. All of us stand here this day. All of us stand with each other, whether we stood at Sinai together, or went to school together, or grew up together, or have just met for the first time. At Timnitzavim Hayom, we all stand this day. And there's beauty and poignancy to this Torah portion, and there's beauty and poignancy to this sacred day as we stand upon each other's shoulders, seeking to right the wrongs we have done, seeking to find better pathways to holiness, seeking to hold each other's hearts in our hands as we struggle with the pain that we're all going through, and to seek to elevate each other through our joys and our simchas together. Atem nitzavim hayom kolchem, we all stand here this day. And with that in mind, we will continue now with the blessing and chanting of Torah. To chant our Torah this morning will be Abby Cole, Evelyn Alexander, and Issa Wright. And we have invited a number of our members who are celebrating their Chai or plus Chai membership with our congregation, 18 plus years with our community. These are the ones who have offered to accept the honor of the Aliyah. Jill and George Eidelman, Annette Vandekamp, Jill and Mike Ehrman, Mel Epstein, Mike and Susie Norton. As I'm calling your name, feel free to come up. Marie Newman, David and Catherine Finnegan, John and Denise Myers, Jan Lund, Tamara Denton, Howard and Lee Needleman, Lisa Brunkhorst, Marvin Bitterman, Judith Fagan, Terry and Dick Zechariah, Gary Gerber, Joni Lair, Jennifer Tompkins, Laura Kirschenbaum, and Helen Burns. And if you affirmed that you were coming up as well, you are more than welcome to join too. And Jim Farber. And if I left your name out, I apologize. These are the ones that were passed on to me. Everyone's going to come over here, so come on over here. Don't be strangers, just be strange. Mm-hmm.
You can scooch this way as we're falling off the side over there. Come on.
Abby.
Come on up. Okay, and we will join together nice and big. 1, 2, 3. Baruch hu et Adonai hambarach. Baruch Adonai hambarach le'olam va'ed. Baruch Adonai hambarach le'olam va'ed. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam, asher bachar banu mikol ha'amin, v'natan lanu et torato. Baruch atah Adonai noten haTorah.
Amen.
Yes.
Ki hamitzvat hazot asher anochi mesavecha hayom lo nifleti mimecha velo yechokahi lo bashamayim hi lemor mi halelanu ashamayma v'yikachecha lanu v'yashmi'enu ta v'na'asena v'lo layam hi lemor mi yavelanu ele v'layam v'yikachecha lanu v'yashmi'enu ta v'na'asena ki kov elecha hadavar meod beficha u'v'lecha
נתתי לפניך היום את החיים ואת הטוב ואת המוות ואת הרע, אשר אנוכי מצווך היום לאהבה את אדוני אלוהיך, ללכת בדרכיו ולשמור מצוותיו וחוקותיו ומשפטיו, וחיית ורבית בדרכך אדוני אלוהיך בארץ אשר אתה בשמה לרשת. אם יפנה לבבך ולא תשמע, ונידחת והשתחווית לאלוהים אחרים ועבדתם.
הגדתי לכם היום כי אבות תאבדון, לא תאריכון ימים על האדמה, אשר אתה עובר את הירדן לבוא שמה לרשתה. העידותי בכם היום את השמיים ואת הארץ, החיים והמוות נתתי לפניך, הברכה והקללה, ובחרת בחיים למען תחיה אתה וזרעך, לאהבה את אדוני אלוהיך, לשמוע בקולו ולדבקבו, כי הוא חייך ואורך ימיך, לשבת על האדמה אשר נשבע אדוני לאבותיך, לאברהם, ליצחק וליעקב, לתת להם.
Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam, asher natan lanu Torah Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu. Amen. Don't go anywhere just yet. We're going to offer up a special blessing in honor of your Aliyah.
Mishaberach Avotenu v'Imrotenu Avraham Yitzhak v'Yaakov Sarah Rivka Rachel v'Leah. May the one who brought blessings to Abraham and Sarah, to Isaac and Rebekah, to Jacob, Rachel, and Leah, bring blessings to all of you who have been part of our community for 18 years or more, who rise today to honor God, Torah, this day of Shabbat, and the day of remembrance. The blessing of safety and protection in times of trouble, the blessing of comfort and healing in times of illness, the blessing of success and fulfillment in all your endeavors. On this day of remembrance, inscribe and seal you all in Israel and all of Israel for a life of goodness. And we say together, Amen.
Amen. And as they are heading down, we are going to continue with Birkat HaGomel. Birkat HaGomel is traditionally recited after one has experienced an arduous or dangerous journey or a major surgery or an incredibly difficult experience. I introduced this to my community, thankfully well before COVID, but it seems to have been even more profound ever since then. The introduction can be found on page 260. Preparing for Birkat HaGomel, a time of profound thanks. The teaching of our sages in the presence of the sacred scroll, we give thanks for the blessings in our lives. Rav Judah said in the name of Rav, who should offer thanksgiving? Those who have completed an arduous voyage, those who have recovered from an illness or injury, and prisoners who have been set free. God willing, we are still waiting for over 100 prisoners to be set free. In the midst of the congregation, we honor those who have come through times of challenge, difficulty, or danger. Today we celebrate their survival. Together we give thanks for the resilience of the body, for the strength of the human spirit, for the precious gift of life experienced with new intensity when life has been at risk. And so I will invite anyone who has experienced an arduous journey, a difficult surgery, a challenging time. You get to define for yourselves if you would like to offer up this prayer, this Birkat HaGomel, which you can find on the page, top of page 261. And I invite you to join me. Baruch atah Adonai, Eloheinu melech haolam, HaGomel l'chayavim tovot, shegimalani kol tov. Together, blessed are you, our God eternal. Your majesty fills the universe. Through your generosity, I have experienced your goodness. And we will say together the third one at the bottom as the congregation, Amen. Mi shegemolochem kol tov, hu yigmolchem kol tov, Selah. May the source of goodness bring you goodness at all times. Amen.
Amen.
And at this time in our service, we now take some moments to think of those friends, family, loved ones. You can find many of their names on our screen, those who are ill and ailing. And we invite you as well to take those into your own hearts as we offer up the prayer of healing. Mishaberach Avotenu Avraham Yitzhak v'Yaakov, V'imotenu Sarah Rivka Rachel v'Leah. May the God of our ancestors Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob, Sarah, Rebecca, Rachel, and Leah bless all those who are ill and ailing, including Howell Arnold, Shelley Babender, Virginia Becker, Jean Brosco, Lisa Brunkhorst, Sandy Christofferson, Scott Farkas, Nancy Friedland, Mason Gary, Larry Galinsky, Howard Goldstein, Jean Herman, Alan Hurst, Patrick Jensen, Joan Johnson, Ronald Kaplan, Samuel Kenkel, Mark Kraft, Karen Levine, Bailey Linthicum, Emily Linthicum, Brandy Matson, David Millett, Ann Moshman, Julie Knoll, Nadine Ostro, Betty Pipkins, Maddie Rahauser, Jessica Rayboy, Edie Rothman, Holly Rosenberg, George Sachs, Rabbi Robert Sharff, Cherie Sigwing, Susan Snitzer, Dee Dee Spiegel, Raylene Savoda, Chrissy Stewart, Matt Stewart, Laura J. West, Brent Wine, Abram Wisnia, Aviva Bat Kalman. May their names and those names in your own hearts continue to be blessed with refuah shlema, a complete recovery of mind, a body, of spirit. And for those unable to make a full recovery, may God continue to be a source of peace and comfort in their lives. May God grant strength to those who are dealing with the challenges of mental illness and or addiction, and strength to all those who are suffering. May God grant strength to those who love them, especially their caregivers, wisdom and protection to those who care for them, and strength to all of us who love them. And together as one loving family, let us say,
Amen.
Amen. You can find the words from Misha Bayrock, page 273.
Invite everyone who's comfortable and able to do so to rise for Hagba and Galila as we lift and dress the Torah and return it to the Ark. We'll be on page 291.
וזאת התורה אשר שם משה לפני בני ישראל על פי אדוני ויד משה. יאי לי 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 יאי לי 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 יאי לי לי יאי לי לי יאי לי 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 יאי לי 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 יאי לי 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 יאי לי 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 עץ חיים היא למחזיקים בה ותומכה ויושר תרחיה תלמינו בכל נתיבותיה שלום השיבנו אדוני
You may be seated. We continue on page 293. Because I was angry, because I didn't think, because I was exhausted and on edge, because I've been drinking, because I can be mean, because I was reckless and selfish, because I was worried about money, because my marriage was dead, because other people were doing it, because I thought I could get away with it, because I did something wrong, because I'm in pain, because I wish I could undo it, because I hurt him, because I lost her trust, because I let them down, because I was self-destructive, because I was foolish, because I'm ashamed, because that's not who I am, because that's not who I want to be, because I want to be forgiven. God, bring down my walls of defensiveness and self-righteousness. Help me stay in humility. Please give me the strength to do what's right. Page 294, Shema Kolenu.
Adonai Eloheinu השיבנו אליך ונשובה חדש ימינו תשליכנו אל תשליכנו לעת זקנה ככלות כוחנו
Page 296. I invite you to rise if you're able. Our God and God of all generations, may our prayers reach your presence. And when we turn to you, do not be indifferent. Adonai, we are arrogant and stubborn, claiming to be blameless and free of sin. In truth, we have stumbled and strayed. We have done wrong.
Ay, 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 Ashamnu,
Ashamnu,
Bagadnu,
Bagadnu,
Gazalnu,
Gazalnu,
Dibarnu Dofi,
Dibarnu Dofi,
ay, 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 Hevinu,
Hevinu,
Vehirshanu,
Vehirshanu,
Zadnu,
Zadnu,
Chamasnu,
Chamasnu,
Tafanu Shaker,
Tafanu Shaker,
ay, 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 Ya'atznu Ra,
Ya'atznu Ra,
Kizavnu,
Kizavnu,
Latznu,
Latznu,
Maradnu,
Maranu,
Niatznu,
Niatznu,
Sararnu,
Sararnu,
Avinu,
Avinu,
Pashanu,
Pashanu,
Sararnu,
Sararnu,
Kishinu Oref,
Kishinu Oref, Shichatnu,
Tiavnu,
Tiavnu,
Tainu,
Tainu,
Titanu,
Titanu.
Together. Of these wrongs we are guilty. We betray, we steal, we scorn, we act perversely. We are cruel, we scheme, we are violent, we slander, we devise evil, we lie, we ridicule, we disobey, we abuse, we defy, we corrupt, we commit crimes, we are hostile, we are stubborn, we are immoral, we kill, we spoil, we go astray, we lead others astray. Please be seated. Page 301.
I need to speak these words aloud and to know that the universe hears them. I get caught in old patterns and paradigms. I am stubborn and hard-headed. In the last year, I have missed the mark more than I want to admit. Forgive me, source of all being, for the sin I have sinned before you together, by allowing my body to be an afterthought too often and too easily, by not walking, running, leaping, climbing, or dancing although I am able, by eating in my car and at my desk, mindlessly and without blessing, by not embracing those who needed it and not allowing myself to be embraced, by not praising everybody's beauty with our quirks and imperfections, by letting my emotions run roughshod over the needs of others, by poking at sources of hurt like a child worrying a sore tooth, by revealing my heart before those who neither wanted nor needed to see it, by hiding love out of fear of rejection instead of giving love freely, by dwelling on what's internal when the world is desperate for healing, by indulging in intellectual argument without humility or consideration, by reading words of vitriol cultivating hot indignation, by eschewing intellectual discomfort that might prod me into growing, by living in anticipation and letting anxiety rule me, by accepting defeat as thinking and the comfortable ache of despair, by not being awake and grateful despite uncountable blessings, by not being sufficiently gentle with my actions or with my language, by not being pliant and flexible but obstinate, stark, and unbending, by not being generous with my time, with my words, or with my being, by not being kind to everyone who crosses my wandering path. For all of these, eternal source of forgiveness, help me know myself to be pardoned. Help me feel in my bones that I'm forgiven. Remind me I'm always ready at one with you. Continue the bottom of page 302. For all these failures of judgment and will, God of forgiveness, forgive us, pardon us, lead us to atonement.
Ve'al kulam Eloah selichot selachanu mechalanu kaperanu Ve'al kulam Eloah selichot selachanu mechalanu selachanu mechalanu kaperanu.
Page 305, we read together. We focused inward, narrowing our vision. We were preoccupied with ourselves. We turned our back on the poor and the defenseless. We were contemptuous of the weak. We tolerated violence against children, neglect of the old, exploitation of the innocent. We told ourselves there was nothing we could do. We wasted the resources of the earth. We denied our own responsibility and put it out of our minds. We kept silent when we should have spoken out. We gave into cynicism and despair. We sought entertainment instead of enlightenment. We were lazy, indifferent, and callous. We forgave ourselves too easily for our failures. We forgot that we always have a choice.
Am I there?
I take my days for granted, gifted others even-handed, and shown compassion to the homeless stranger. Have I been humble before my Creator? V'yakalam, v'yakalam, Elohai Slakot, v'yakalam, 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 Elohai Slakot, v'yakalam.
Have I tread lightly on this planet? Have I held fast to your commandments? And have I raised my voice against injustice? Have I been giving or have I been selfish? Be'al kulam, be'al kulam, Eloah slichot, be'al kulam, be'al kulam, be'al kulam, Eloah slichot, be'al kulam. Selach lanu, mechalanu, kapelanu, ve'al kulam. Selach lanu, mechalanu, kapelanu, ve'al kulam.
We continue responsively on page 313. Let us affirm the good we have done. Let us acknowledge our acts of healing and repair.
For the good we have done by acting with self-restraint and self-control.
For the good we have done through acts of generosity and compassion.
For the good we have done by offering children our love and support.
For the good we have done by honoring our parents with care and respect.
For the good we have done through acts of friendship and hospitality.
For the good we have done through acts of forgiveness and reconciliation.
For the good we have done by keeping promises and honoring commitments.
For the good we have done through the work of our hands and by serving others.
For the good we have done by caring for the earth and sustaining its creatures.
For the good we have done by housing the homeless, feeding the hungry, and welcoming the stranger.
For the good we have done by acting with integrity and honesty.
For the good we have done through thoughtful and encouraging words.
For the good we have done by caring for our health and that of our loved ones.
For the good we have done by strengthening our Jewish community.
For the good we have done through acts of civic engagement and tikkun olam.
All these have brought light and healing to the world. May these acts inspire us to renew our efforts in the year to come.
Now I'd like to invite back Dan Gilbert to the bima to share some announcements about the coming days.
Thank you. Thank you, everyone. As we get close, the announcements get shorter. First, a thank you to our clergy, Rabbi Sharff, Cantor Alexander, Rabbi Berezin. Sorry, I'm looking right at you. Just thank you for leading with Keveh and Kavanah throughout these days. A special thank you to Rabbi Azrael also for joining us here today. Your presence lifts the room. Thank you for being here. Thank you to our musicians, Jennifer, David, Darcy, Jerry, our choir, it's fabulous. Thank you to our back of the house, Scott, Phyllis, David with the hospitality, Eli, Nate, and Tim on our technology and our security with Elite Tactical. Thank you to our congregants, to you, our guests. We're grateful that you're here. I would invite our Board of Trustees just to quickly stand and wave and say hi. Thank you for what you do for all of us. One more thing, of course. Thank you to our Torah readers. They were fabulous. And those of you that came up for the Aliyah, it was beautiful to see so many of you up here. Thank you. Our afternoon services begin at 1:45 with an opportunity to ask Rabbi Sharff anything in the chapel. So I hope you can join us for that. That will be followed, right? That will be followed by our services of healing for Yisker, Ne'ilah, that will be back in the sanctuary before we come back together for the Break the Fast. If you have not yet RSVP'd and you would like to join us, you are welcome, and we will figure it out, but you're welcome. Please stick around immediately after this service. We'll be sorting and organizing the food that we collected. For those that have come in the past, you know this is very fun, highly engaging, highly interactive, and you feel good. Our Social Justice Committee is also asking you to join the fight as they partner with Protect Our Rights to protect access to reproductive rights in Nebraska. Join us on Wednesday, October 16th for a phone bank event. Please register or speak with Rabbi Berezin to let us know that you're coming. Sukkot begins next week. We invite you to use the sukkah to attend any of the events we have planned. The Sukkot service is on Thursday, October 17th. There's a classic Shabbat with an oneg in the sukkah to follow next Friday, October 18th. We have sushi in the sukkah. If you are 20-something or close to 20-something, please register. That's Saturday, October 19th. Lunch with the clergy and happy hour in the sukkah on Tuesday, October 22nd. And then following on Wednesday, October 23rd is our communal Simchat Torah celebration. RSVPs are now open. It's just $5 per family. We hope you'll join us for that. For those that have a Tot Shabbat, that's next week. Check in to know that you're coming with the Tots. Our next installment of Rosh Chodesh is November 3rd, when the group will meet at the Anarcha Center. It's a birthing center started and funded by IB Black Girl, a nonprofit located in North Omaha. Please register to attend. This is the last call for our adult civil rights trip with Tzedek America that's taking place in April 2025. If you're on the fence, please register, and if you have questions, please see Rabbi Berezin. Temple Israel has become a co-sponsor for Every Voice, Every Vote. This is a nonpartisan effort that asks us to come together in community for a virtual series where we'll take action and learn from trusted nonpartisan organizations. The next event is on October 15th. It begins with a training, and we will text voters in Ohio to support fair voting districts. Some future dates to keep an eye on, and these are all on the Temple website. On November 15th is the consecration. December 6th through 8th, we'll be joined by a scholar in residence with Rabbi Leah Rachel Berkowitz. And on December 15th will be our Hanukkah celebration. So, L'Shana Tova, Shabbat Shalom.
We turn our thoughts to those who are no longer with us, but remain in our hearts as we bring them with us to these holy days. If I say the name of a loved one, I invite you to rise and remain standing if you're comfortable and able to do so. This week, our community will lay to rest Mimi Rogers Farkas and Nathan Patrick Nutt. We are in Shiva the first 7 days of mourning for Judith Kaplan. We are in Shloshim the first 30 days of mourning for Harlan Rips, Alan Potash, Linda Sharff, Jerome Kyman, and Scott Thompson. Remember the yard sites of Robert Al Baker, Ray Leah Brodkey, Justice Donald Brodkey, Barbara Lieberman Froman, Ida D. Gitlin, Ruth Fox Gorham, Lillian Alice Lipsy Greenberg, Addie Gross, Eric Brandon Harrison, Jacob Hart, Emma Jarecki Hart, Rosa Hiller, Eva Kirschbraun, Sydney David Leo, Robert Levine, Sidoni Marburg, Louise Rothkopf-Meyer, Orville Alex Milder, Raquel Newman, Doris Jean Oglander, Janet S. Perlmeter, Mary Kaiser Rabiner, Felicia Schreier, Hi S. Schreier, Shirley Smirin, Sharon Sobel, Edwin N. Summer, Audrey Sofer, Walter Zeb Stark, Edith Stein, Mrs. Tony Stern, Robert M. Stifler, and Kate Weisman. For all of those and those we hold in our hearts, we say the Mourner's Kaddish together. We'll turn back to page 122. Invite the community, if you're able to please rise as we say Kaddish together. Yikadal v'yikadash shemei Rabbah, ve'alma divrach yirutei v'yamlich malchutei, v'chayechon u'v'yomechon, u'v'chayei d'chol beit Yisrael, v'agala u'v'zman karib v'imru amen. Yehei shmei Rabbah mivorach le'olam ulamei almaya, yibarach v'yishtabach v'yipa'ar v'yitromam v'yitnaseh, v'yitadar v'yitaleh v'yitalal shmei dekudisha b'richu. La'ela ula'ela mikol birchata v'shirata, tushbechata v'nechamata, da'amiran be'alma v'imru amen. Yehei shlama Rabbah min shemaya, v'chayim aleinu ve'al kol Yisrael, v'imru amen. Oseh shalom b'imromav, hu ya'aseh shalom, aleinu ve'al kol Yisrael, ve'al kol yoshvei tevel, v'imru amen.
There is no formal conclusion to our Yom Kippur morning service, as is designed to be continued throughout the day. So just a gentle reminder for those who are fasting, if you need to eat or drink for medical reasons or for personal reasons, please feel free to do so. We will be here throughout the day. You are welcome to join us for the food packing and for our experiences following that here all afternoon. And in the meantime, whether you are departing or you're remaining, we ask that Gemar Chatima Tova, we ask that you be sealed in the book of life and that we all be sealed in the book of peace. Gemar Chatima Tova, Shabbat Shalom, and Shana Tova.